What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome back to another late night in the BrewLab. As you can see, it took me a little longer than I thought from the previous recording where it was daytime. I thought I would be able to record a little more after lunch, but alas, my son woke up and the day sort of continued from there. So now it's about close to midnight, and I wanted to knock this one out of the park and finish the full set review so that I can get into some theory crafting. So we'll just take off exactly where we left off. I believe the last card I read and the end of part 2 was Candlegrove Witch. So now we're moving on to Dawnheart Rejuvenator, which is a 4 mana, 3 colorless and 1 green for a human warlock. And when it ETBs, you gain 3 life, and then you can tap it for 1 mana of any color. Probably more draft nonsense. It's a little bit expensive. I guess it's not a bad card, but there's probably better things you can be playing at that cost. The decks feel so crowded these days, and now like more than ever, you know. Especially if you've been playing just standard 2022. Now that's like a whole new injection of cards. It's the slots start to feel a bit more crowded again, like they probably have been feeling for the people that were still playing old standard, pre-rotation standard. It's like so many sets with so many good cards. Which do you put in, in which point on the curve with only a 60 card deck? It gets really hard. So next up, I've noticed this Falcon Wrath is a vampire thing. It's all over in the vampire cards. I've just been fiddling around trying to build a vampire deck. I'll show you a bit more about that in the live stream that I'm going to do right after this recording. So, Falcon Wrath Perforator, 2 mana creature vampire, just vampire. And when it deals 1 damage when it attacks. I was looking at other things in my 2 slot. There's I'm just gonna skip ahead here. I'll just be quick. It's right at the top anyway, so then you won't have seen anything else. But Bloodthirsty Adversary, it's part of this full cycle of adversaries, is also just a vampire, and it's also a 2-drop, and it also isn't legendary, and it's just an all-round better card. So I think you'd probably be wanting to put this in your 2-drop slot then, as opposed to the one we had down here called Falcon Wrath. What's it called? Beg your pardon. Yeah, Falcon Wrath Perforator. I think this probably, like, if you don't pick up the adversary, then you can get this in your draft. It can make up for the fact that you don't have the better 2-drop. Next up, we've got Vampire Interloper. I've noticed it's definitely going to be some kind of an aggro deck, because they've all got very low toughness, very low cost, and it's all about, there's always that thing, if 1 damage has been dealt, or damage has been dealt to the opponent this turn, then da-da-da-da-da happens. These are actually the first 2 vampires that I've come across that don't have that clause. But it's pretty cool because it activates all of the other ones. No matter what you do, you just need to attack with it. It does 1 damage to a defending player. That means all of the other things trigger. So that's actually pretty good. I might have to change my deck around. Anyway, just in the initial phases. Vampire Interloper. Flying 2/1 that can't block. Meh, that's rubbish. Never mind that Interloper. Moving on to the Organ Hoarder. 4 mana. 3 colorless, 1 blue for a zombie. Aha! So I'm also making a zombie deck tonight. When Organ Hoarder enters the battlefield, look at the top 3 cards of your library. Then you put 1 of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. Might actually be pretty kind of one of those glue cards that just sort of makes things happen in the middle part of the game. Because you can put the best one into your hand, and then ones that you might want to reanimate or flashback into your graveyard, and put a 3/2 body down. It's not bad. That's a zombie, which is tribally relevant. we'll have to see if that ends up seeing any play at all. I already crafted a zombie deck, and it's very full, and I'm not entirely sure what's missing, if it's any good. It's really hard to evaluate a brew when you cannot play test it. Just based upon reading the cards, you can get a very good idea, but the play lines and the patterns and how it ends up actually performing is a completely different thing when you play it. I hope you guys can hear me. The microphone is on the other side of my face than usual, so I'm kind of hope I'm not talking into the wrong direction. Different desk. If only you saw where I'm streaming from. Celestus Sanctifier. A 3-mana, 3/2 cleric. So it starts the night and day cycle, and whenever it becomes either night or day, you look at the top 2 cards of your library and you put one of them into your graveyard. We'll have to see how much graveyardy stuff matters. Could be cool though. There's a 5-mana angel that's coming up in white, that then, so you could like, look at the top 2, put the one that's can be reanimated by that angel into the graveyard. Where do you put the other one? Doesn't say whether you look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your graveyard. Where do you put the other one? Back onto the top of your library, I guess. That's pretty cool. So it's kind of like Scry and Surveil in every time it switches from night to day. It's just the 3-drop slot is so packed. I've already said this so many times. I said this about the Ritual Guardian down here in mono white. We'll have to see. Like, it definitely isn't fitting in a cleric's deck. Maybe in some night day thing, but it's probably mostly just draft chaff. Next up, we've got an instant from green with Coven. Another instant with Coven. That's cool. Duel for dominance. 1 in a green. Choose a target creature you control and target creature you don't control. If you control 3 or more creatures, put a +1/+1 counter on the chosen creatures you control, and then the chosen. Okay, so you give your creature +1 and fights. And but only if you've got the 3 different creature powers in play. Interesting. They each deal damage equal to the power. Okay. Cool. Better fight spells out there, but if you're playing a Coven deck, then this might be the one you want. We'll have to give it a try, of course. Here we have another dual-sided card called Harvest-Tide Infiltrator and Harvest-Tide Assailant. Human Werewolf. Trample. 3/2. Becomes a 4/4 at night. Nothing special. Pretty powerful. 4/4 for 3 with trample. Probably in draft, in limited, this will be like pretty damn sweet. I don't think it's going to end up in any like serious werewolf decks in constructed, but limited. This card is super cool. Next up, Rotten Reunion. One black for an instant. I like this. I like this a lot. Okay, because we're going to be dealing with a lot of reanimation stuff, a lot of flashbacks cards. You want to be dealing with things in people's graveyards. If you can do that with an upside, especially in a deck where that upside is really... So in my zombie deck, for example, there's not many copies of it. I think I put 2 copies. But, you want to get rid of something important that they're about to, Blood on the Snow and bring back, or number of ways in this set alone to bring things back from the graveyard to the battlefield. You can exile it and create a 2/2 zombie creature token with Decayed, which will trigger, your Champion of the Perished and this can be flashbacks straight away. So for 3 mana you can do it twice and get rid of 2 important things that he might need to reanimate to sort of get his game going, and effectively put, halt his plan. So I really like this little card here. I think it's going to be quite important in the zombie decks. I'll see, we'll see on the 16th whether I was right or wrong. But at the moment, I think I've put 2 or 3 copies in my zombie deck. I'm More on that in the stream later. Baytook Angler, Human Peasant with Disturb for 2, 1 and a blue. Same cost as its casting cost. So you can cast it from your graveyard for its Disturb cost, and when it comes back as a 1/2 creature with flying called Hook Haunt Drifter. It would be, so it's just a one, yeah. Okay, nothing special. Absolute trash. Bop, bop, bop. Hedge Witch's Mask. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Equipped creature can't be blocked by creatures. Okay. It's kind of doing the thing that there was a 1-drop from Eldraine, Beloved something, Beloved Priestess or something like that, Beloved Princess, that had the same thing, you know, it can't be blocked by creatures with power 4 greater. Nice. Put this on a vigilance creature. They can't block. You can. Pretty sweet. Might be nice in an equipment deck actually. So it's lacking like little 1-drops like that give it evasion. There's 1 trample equipment in the whole of standard at the moment, and it's very expensive equip cost. So might be nice to have something like that. Next up, Bird Admirer, a human archer werewolf. That's a dual-faced card. Then on the backside is a Wing Shredder. Okay, so there's reach on both sides. Really like the art. Really like the flavor. You know, it's called the Wing Shredder on the other side because you're not going to be killing much with 1/4 reach. You can block and probably die to a Goldspan Dragon, but the Wing Shredder doesn't die to the Goldspan. And, you know, can block other things like, I don't know, Elite Spellbinder or what have you. So that's pretty nice. 0 comments on this card though. It's probably just going to end up being a lot of limited rubbish or something you sideboard in if you're going against a matchup with heavy, like lots of flyers. Next up here we have another vampire, which is a warrior. I mentioned it in yesterday's stream or recording when I was looking at some of the vampires in the multicolored section of this set review, and it got me thinking of Zagras, the party vampire that's black and red, and its cost is reduced when you have you know, depending on the number of party members you have in play. And I've put a couple of copies of him in my new vampire deck. It's going to be interesting to see because there's now we've got vampire warriors. There's 2 of them in the set that I can access. This is one of them. The other one is a rare, which I'll show you in a moment. And we've also got vampire rogues, and we've also got vampire clerics. So we don't have vampire wizards, but that's okay because we just need to reduce the casting cost of Zagras a little bit, not all the way, and nothing else happens really with the party mechanics. So yeah, I think it's going to fit really well, and we're going to be able to get Zagras down on like turn 4, turn 5 with a bunch of other vampires in play and just kick ass. So let's see how that works out. I'm really excited. Next up, oh sorry, well I didn't really read it. So as long as it's attacking, it's got first strike, and you can pay 3 to give it +2/+0. So I was really undecided because the other one, I will get to it. It also is 1 mana. It also is a warrior. It's also, but it's rare, and it's got some weird way of sort of drawing cards. I think you know, those of you who've been looking at spoilers will know which one I'm talking about. I don't know. It depends which deck it ends up being. If it's more aggro-y, more sort of I don't know, combo-y. So we'll have to see. Right. Next up, Olivia's Midnight Ambush. This looks crazy. 2 mana for an instant. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. If it's night, that creature gets -13 instead. What? That's really good. That is really good in a day-night sort of a thing. kills indestructible creatures, kills anything in standard right now, including the Tarask, as long as it's night, you know. But that's really nice for 2 mana at instant speed. Even if it switches to night on your opponent's turn and you can get him while he still hasn't, you know, been able to switch it today if he wants to or whatever. That's pretty good, man. That's pretty damn good. Worst case, it's a -2/-2 for 2, which isn't horrible either. I think that's actually a really good card. I'm surprised it's a common. We'll have to see how easily switchable this night and day thing is, and etc. You know, there's only one sorcery so far that I found that actually does it. Everything else has been, you know, creatures coming in with daybound or nightbound that start the cycle, or, you know, you having to cast 2 spells on your turn to switch it or whatever, or the opponent the same. So it's still kind of a bit confused. I'm still not sure how that's going to look when you're actually playing. So yeah, I'll reserve my judgment until a later moment on this card, but so far looks pretty good. -13 for 2 mana at instant speed. Okay, I'm repeating myself now. Next up, we have a Hippogriff. Four mana, 3/2 with flying, with disturb. When it comes back, you pay a disturb cost of 5. There's one more than the original one. And then it just comes back as a 2/2 with nothing. This is a piece of rubbish. Flare of Faith. Instant speed. 1 and a white. Target creature gets +2/+2 if it's a human. Instead, it gains +3/+3 and gains indestructible. Human deck keeps looking better. I really like this. I've been desperate for an indestructible thing at instant speed that you can save creatures with. That, you know, you can wrath the board and their creatures die and you'll stay alive. There's only one thing in standard right now. 2 things. There's Semester's End, and the other one is called what's the new Knight from AFR with Flash. But then it dies. It's not as good, and it costs 3. So if you need to, you know, wipe the board for 3, the cheapest, which is you know, a Foretold Doomscar, and then you still need to pay another 3. You know, or, you know, first you flash in the Knight, and then you cast the Doomscar. That's 6 mana you need to have to, you know, save your creatures and sweep the board. It's very hard to set up, and by that point the game's either usually over or you've won anyway, or I don't know. It's kind of a weird one. So, and then Semester's End also costs 4 mana, so you need even more. You need 7 to set that up. This is just better. You can do it for 5. And save your most important creature. Attack off, you know, you should do it before attacking. Wrath, attack for more than you would have, because it's gain an extra +1/+1. And then, you know, the following turn, keep building your board, but you're ahead of the opponent. I like this, especially in a humans deck, obviously. So, like, that's another one I'm gonna have to build. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. I'm thinking tomorrow I'll do werewolves and humans. Tonight we're sticking to zombies and vampires. Alright, next up, Timberland Guide. 1 colorless and a green for a human scout. Enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Meh. Draft chaff. Next up, Stolen Vitality. 2 mana instant, 1 and a red. Target creature gets +3/+1 until end of turn. If it is your turn, that creature gains trample until end of turn. Otherwise it gains first strike. Oh, nice. So it's sort of modal, depending if it's defensive or offensive. I quite like that. I really like that. That's a nice little combat trick. Probably still mostly draft chaff. There's better combat tricks for 2 mana, but that's a nice little one. as opposed to, I don't know, there's been a few already, like even here, this is 1 mana, also modal, +2/+2. You know, there's a few of them I've seen also in white. Like, you know, there we go. Nice little combat tricks in this set. I like it. I like that sort of magic where there's a lot more decisions to be made during blocking, attacking, rather than just you know, counter spells and sweepers and removal, where it's gotten to now, I feel like, a little bit. Sorry, get rambling again. Onwards. Novice Oculist, another human, a wizard. 2 mana. When it dies, you draw a card, you lose 1 life. In black. Rubbish. Unblinking Observer, Homunculus. Lovely art. 2 mana for a 2/1, 1 and a blue. Tap it to add blue. Spend this mana only to pay for disturb costs or to cast instants or sorcery spells. Instants or sorcery spells. Meh. Sorry, just looking for some water. Where were we? Thrabin Exorcism. Thrabin Exorcism. Exile target spirit, creature with disturb or enchantment. Probably for limited. I don't see much use for that. Unless there's like a crazy spirit deck that appears out of the meta and we need this to counter the spirit deck, but you can just use another spell, I guess. Other removal that's better. Banishing Verse. I guess this creature with disturb. Meh. Tapping at the Window. 2 mana, 1 and a green for sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Flashback 3. Put the rest into your graveyard. There's better versions of this as well. In limited, this is going to be great. Sort of rummaging effect there, but there's better ones in standard right now. Call to Adventure or something. Even just the lesson that you can get with the learn cards. What's it called now? Oh my goodness. Basic Conjuration. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. This is kind of worse than Basic Conjuration for 1 less mana, but you can flash it back and you don't need to go get it out of a lesson board, but you don't gain 3 life. I think this is just all the way worse. Basic Conjuration is a rare after all. God, there's a praying mantis crawling on my screen. Next up, Raise the Effigy. Looks like Burning Man. 1 mana for an instant. Nice little modalness. We'll have to see how important destroy our target artifact is, but just to be able to slip 1 or 2 of these into a mono red deck that doesn't have any other way of getting rid of artifacts might be a pretty sweet way of doing so. And then if you don't run into any artifacts, you can just pump 1 of your creatures, give it +2/+2 at instant speed for 1 mana. That's a pretty nice little combat trick. Maybe nice also in, like, let's say a Magecraft deck or something like that. Which is looking to make a good sort of comeback, because there's some really good 1 and 2 drop instants and sorceries that are going to help with that Magecraft, and you know, Flashback also clearly helps with that as well, because you can reuse those spells from your graveyard at instant speed, you know, often. So pretty nice. How I'm also really looking forward to, you know, once you've made the initial obvious new decks that are like being pushed by the set. The first sort of week or so of the format is like that, where everyone's trying zombies, trying vampires, and then slowly people start to like amalgamate and mix and match stuff from the old sets, and you know, bring the cards from the new set into the old decks, or bring, you know, make new decks and bring in cards from the older sets, and vice versa, until a new meta develops. It sort of around week 3, I usually find of a new sort of format, and that's going to be really, really sick, where we see how these different cards, you know, come together. And they always make sure that there's sneaky little Easter eggs that they, you know, they knew very well that was always the plan, and then they leave it to us to find out. And I really love doing that. It's one of my favorite parts of playing. Hence the BrewLab, of course. Next up, No Way Out. 3 mana, 2 and a black for a sorcery. Target creature, target opponent discards 2 cards. You create a 2/2 black zombie creature. Nice. Might want to put 1 or 2 of these in my zombie deck. Maybe 2. A little bit of hand hate in a crucial moment when he's like down to 2 of his last cards, and they're probably his bombs that he's been saving to play, and you just discard them and make a zombie. And that's pretty sweet. I like that. I like that. I'm also thinking of a Rakdos zombie list to give them haste. These things with Decayed make it even more aggro-y, and therefore also have access to a bit more like burn spells. Shipwreck Sifters. 2 mana for a spirit, 1 and a blue for a 1/2. The Shipwreck Shifters. That's a tongue twister. Shipwreck Sifters enters the battlefield. Draw a card, then discard a card. When you discard a card, a spirit card or a card with Disturb, you put a +1/+1 counter on Shipwreck Sifters. I think, you know, we're starting to see some little bit of synergy here. There was this guy also, you know, Disturb deck, things that have to do with disturbing, and then getting value when you do things with disturbed cards. That's going to be another one that we're going to have to try, but it's probably not going to be amazing. Disturbed deck that takes over the standard. Salt Guide Griff. Hippogriff Spirit. So another spirit. So there are a lot of spirits. Flying 3/4 for 5. When it ETBs, you exile a target card from a graveyard. Meh. Limited nonsense. Shadow Beast Sighting. Create a 4/4 green beast creature token for 4 mana. Flash it back for 7. Nah. Total rubbish. Pact's Betrayal. Okay, so here's the typical, every set has one, you know, steal spell. Every set has one so far, in a good like 3 or 4 last sets. Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature. It gains haste until end of turn, and if you control a wolf or werewolf, scry 2. Pretty cool, actually. Interesting. We'll have to see as well for the wolf deck. I haven't even started brewing anything with the wolf deck. I've just seen a few other guys on YouTube who already put up like early brews, and I'm getting some ideas, but I'm not quite there yet. I haven't decided if it's going to be Gruul, Jund. There's also a potential Sultai, Teamer werewolf list brewing. More on that probably the day after tomorrow. Next up, Morkrut Behemoth. Morkrut? 5 mana for a zombie giant, 7/6. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature or pay 2. So it could, if you don't have anything to sacrifice, cost 7 for 7/6 with menace, okay? But like, just dies to removal. This is definitely limited bomb, some sort of draft chaff. Not worth mentioning. Next up, Revenge of the Drowned. We're slowly going to reach into uncommons soon, so please bear with me. I think it's important to read all the cards in a set, even though these are definitely like just the commons, but they often play an important part, and there'll be 1 or 2 of them that are game changing, and will make certain decks completely much better. Like that, without them, they would make the deck rubbish. So it's important, I think, to read all of them. One of them's coming up here in a second. So, Search Party Captain. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature you attacked with this turn. When Search Party ETBs, Party Captain enters the battlefield, draw a card. for Human Soldier. Meh, nonsense, too expensive. Well, I mean, okay. You can cast it in your second main phase for 1 and draw a card. That's actually can be pretty cool, but it's weird. I guess in some sort of white weenies, turn 4 you attack, or turn 3 you attack, and then you cast this for 1. No, yeah, maybe. We'll have to see. Return to Nature, reprint. It's been we skipped. There wasn't a Return to Nature in the last set. They used that other one that ventured into the dungeon. So good to see you back. Lovely card, very lovely card. I love always playing this in my green decks. So versatile, artifacts, enchantments, and in this case they've changed it a bit. They always do. Exile target card from graveyard. Makes sense in this set to have that as the third option on Return to Nature in this set. I think that's pretty cool. Was that it on the last one as well? Am I just talking crap? Let's have a look. Return in green. Well, first of all, they don't have it in standard 2022, so it's got all of standard. Boom. Okay, it's always been that. Exile target card from graveyard. The last time they printed it was in Theros Beyond Death. Or M21. Can't remember which one came first. They also had one in Eldraine. So good to have that reprint in the set. I think it's going to be good. Neonate's Rush. This was the one I was just talking about earlier, where it seems like nothing, but it costs 1 less to cast if you control a vampire. So in your vampire deck, this will cost 2, more often than not. And it's 2 mana for instant speed. You deal 1 damage to target creature, 1 damage to its controller, and draw a card. In the vampire deck, where it's important because it always has this clause. Here's another vampire, and it says if an opponent lost life this turn. You do this before attacking. Usually you need these things to happen before attacking. So you get rid of potentially a little chump blocker that's 1 damage. Then you do 1 damage to the controller, so it activates all of your vampires. And then you also get to draw a card for 2 mana pre-combat. I think that's, gonna be important for that deck. It's gonna be less about the stuff that happens in the, well, there's a bit of both I've seen, but I think the part where you're trying to get in for damage and win the game are gonna obviously happen before combat because you need to attack. Then there's some stuff that's like for post removal, board rebuilding kind of stuff, like or things that reduces in cost or that in post combat that are also in the vampire deck. So that you basically then what you're trying to do is to get through with some of the vampires to do the damage, so that if an opponent lost life this turn, and then you do all the things that you were planning to do in the second main phase. But I think this is the type of one where you can also use it defensively, kill an attacker, or reduce an attacker's toughness to then be able to trade with one of your vampires, and at the same time activate all your vampires. That there's some that work better sort of defensively when an opponent has lost life that turn. So then and you get to draw a card before your opponent, before your draw step. So you can, I think, very versatile, and I've already put 4 of in my vampire deck. We'll see on day 1 whether I'm wrong about that. Beg your pardon. Duress is back. Nice. Turn 1 Duress. Love to play it, hate to be on the receiving end. Target opponent reveals their hand, you choose a non-creature, non-land card from it, that player discards that card. Sorcery speed, great stuff. It's back. Otherworldly Gaze. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, you put any number of them into your graveyard, and the rest back into your top of your library in any order. Flashback for 2, instant speed, so you can do this 2 times for 3 mana. and you can look at the top 6 cards of your library and then put them, as many as you want of those into your graveyard and rearrange the rest that you. Wow. That's fan-bloody-tastic. Well, not at the top 6. Well, potentially if you put the first top 3 that you do before flashing it back into your graveyard, then you look at the next top 3. But otherwise, you would look at the same ones again. But still, why would you then flash it back? So, yeah. Really powerful, I think, this. Self-milling, Reanimator stuff. I've already seen 1 or 2 cards where it matters how many cards you have in your graveyard, not like they did in Zendikar Rising where your opponent needs to have cards in his graveyard with a mill. So a little bit more of a self-mill theme, and with all the flashback and reanimation shenanigans, I think this is going to be really good. As a way to like prep yourself for the next turns really cheaply. Turn 1, play a land, say go. Opponent's end step, you play this. You look at the top 3. It's like pretty damn good, man. Alright, Homestead Courage, sorcery. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control against Vigilance at the end of turn. It's got flashback for the same cost. So, yeah, this I saw spelt on another YouTuber's channel. I think it's really good because you can do it twice before your attack step and put 2 1/1 counters on 2 different creatures and give them both Vigilance before the sorcery gets exiled after the second flashback. So in a Magecraft deck, once again, this is going to be freaking amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Probably two or three of in any Magecraft deck. It's vying for position with the 1 mana learn card that does the similar thing. Put a +1/+1 counter and learn, but then you can only do that once. This you can do twice off of the same card for 2 mana. So we'll have to see which one wins. Plummet, also a reprint. Destroy target creature with flying. Nothing great there. Mounted Dread Knight, probably draft chaff, but 5 mana for a Vampire Knight with Trample. That's a 5/4. When it ETBs, see, this is one you would do either, if you've got a way of giving it haste, then that's one thing. But otherwise, you would play this on your second main phase. You get in for damage, then you play this, and it comes in with an extra +1/+1. Crawl from the Cellar. This I've put full 4 copies of in my zombie deck. I think it's really good. They're gonna straight away kill your Champion of the Parish. They're gonna get rid of your important zombies straight away. Everybody's gonna soon learn which are the key zombies in that deck that don't need to be on the battlefield for the opponent to win. So being able to bring those back for so cheap, and you can do it up to 8 times if you have full playset in the deck, because that has flashback, and you get to put a counter on one of the other zombies that's still on the field. I think that's pretty damn good. I wish the flashback cost was a little bit less, like even just 3 would be great, but still, I think this is going to be a good card in your zombie list to get back your key zombies without having to rely on things like, reanimation spells to clunk up your deck list, because it's already quite packed, and I wouldn't know what else to take out. Actually, I'm really struggling with the zombie list, and I want it to be the best one for day one, the day one stream, but we'll just have to figure it out. Maybe I'm wrong about it, but 1 mana to fetch your, that means you can easily then cast it again. Pay 1, get your Champion of the Parish, cast it again. Or even a 2-drop or a 3-drop. It's cheap. And you can flash it back. And you put a count on one of the zombies that you have left on the field, I think. Next up, Geist Wave. Instant. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So it's kind of like when you kick into the Royal. if you control that, if you control that permanent, you draw a card though. So it only happens if you do it on your own card. Then you know, you save your Goldspan Dragon from an exile effect. For example, you cast Geistwave on it with the treasure that you made from the Goldspan, and you make another treasure because you targeted the Goldspan with your own card, and you draw a card. That's a lot of value. So it might be a cool like way of saving your Goldspan from removal and having to run less counter spells in your deck. And it also gives you a chance to draw a card. So I think that's pretty cool. Gavin Trapper. 1 mana for a human soldier, 0/2. Pay 2 and tap to tap a target creature. Meh. Path to the Festival. Sorcery. 3 mana, 2 and a green. Search your library for a basic land. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. And if there are 3 or more basic land types among lands you control, scry 1. 3 or more basic land types among lands you control. Meh. Miscultivate. Moon Rangers slash. Moon Ragers slash. Instant. This spell costs 2 less to cast if it's night. Whew. So one. Okay. So maybe it's kind of like you playing this as you would be playing something like Dragonfire in your dragon deck. You play this in your werewolf deck. Will most often than not cost 1 mana, and it does 3 damage to any target, which is better than the Dragonfire can scale up, because if your dragon's got like 10 toughness or whatever, you can do 10 damage, but it can't target face, whereas this can, which would be very relevant, I think, in a werewolf deck where you like almost get through for that last little bit, kind of like a goblin deck or whatever, typical aggro, and you're missing that last little bit of damage, and then you just hold up 1 mana, and poof. As soon as it becomes night on the opponent's turn, doof. Or if you manage to make it night on your turn before you attack, doof. Last 3 point to the face, GG. Nice, I like that. Blood Pact. You draw 2 cards, target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. Probably targeting yourself most of the time, but I think they made it so that you can target a player, so that you can, kill somebody who's gotten down to 2 life or whatever. Because you can't make it target player draws 2 cards, or whatever. It's just you and one other guy. Oh wait, no, what am I talking about? Target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. Oh, so you... Okay. I guess if you get him to draw 2 cards, but it's the last 2 life he has and he dies, then it doesn't matter. That's what I meant. Otherwise, meh, probably quite rubbish. Flip the switch. Okay, getting into like the sort of 3 mana spells here for the colors. Instant speed. Counter target spell unless its controller... Oh, okay, I've put this in my zombie deck as well as the counter spell. Counter target spell, okay? Any spell. It's like a sword coming, but it the opponent can pay 4 to avoid it. But if they don't pay the 4 and you do... No, I think you just create a zombie token regardless of whether it can counter or not. I'm not sure about that. But anyway, countering a target spell for 3 is very common in standard. It's been the rate for a long time. So coming has dropped it down to 2 with the foretell, but that takes setup and everything. So this is perfectly normally costed. And yeah, unfortunately it's not just a cold counter, hard counter or however they call it, where it's just no matter what, you can only counter a counter by countering it. But you can't, in this case, if you pay 4, you can counter it. But I think when it's crucial to be casting counters, it's turn 3, turn 4. And your opponent usually tapped out at the turn before anyway, so it should be okay. And the fact that you can make a zombie to trigger again all your zombie stuff is pretty cool. Pretty cool. Gavin Silversmith. Okay, so Gavin must be somewhere important. Gavin Silversmith. Human Soldier for 4 for a 2/3. When it ETBs, you put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures. Whoops. Sorry, guys. My poor mouse. Ay. When are we gonna get better conditions? Where was I? Harvesttide Sentry, a human warrior, 2 mana, 1 and a green for a 3/1 with Coven, and when the Coven thing happens, at the beginning of your combat, on your turn, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, Harvesttide Sentry can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Nice-ish, whatever, nothing special. Just on we go. Next up we have a Wolf, Lambholt Harrier. The target creature can't block this turn for 4 mana. 2/2 for 2. Meh. Bat Whisperer. This I've already seen on other people's videos. It's unfortunately rubbish because the art is fantastic as well as the flavor text. My little winged friend told me which of these townfolks are worth tasting for myself. When the Bat Whisperer enters the battlefield, if an opponent lost life this turn, you create a 1/1 black bat creature token with flying. Next up, Zombie Bird. This has also gone in my zombie deck. I'm gonna stop spoiling my own stuff, but basically I think it needed a flyer, and when it ETBs you make a 2/2 zombie with Decayed. Just a 2/2 with flying for 3, but it actually brings 4 power and toughness to the battlefield when it ETBs, and that will trigger your Champion of the Parish, etc. So I like to have a little bit of flyers if possible, either to block Goldspan or I beg your pardon, or to just get in the air. Plus, don't forget, this will become like if Narfi's in play, and if the other Blade Stitched Cab is in play, this will be a 4/3 with flying. That's the Angel Warrior stats. That's good. Next up we have Clarion Cathars, Human Knight. When it ETBs, you create a 1/1 white creature, human token, creature token, for 4 mana for a 3/3. That ETBs and makes a 1/1. So it's 4 strength and toughness to the battlefield for 4 mana. Meh. Probably mostly for draft. Bramble Armor. We've seen this before. When it ETBs, attach it to target creature you control. So sweet that they're bringing that type of way of attaching enchantments, equipments back, more back. I think it's really good. Like your Skyclave Mauls, etc. They come into battlefield and get auto attached to something, and you only have to pay the equip cost if you, the creature gets killed or you remove the equipment for whatever reason. Next up, Burn the Accursed. Burn the Accursed deals 5 damage to target creature and 2 damage to that creature's controller. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. Pretty nice. It's a bit expensive at 5 mana, 4 and 1 red, but it is instant speed. It's like... Alright. We gotta hurry up. I'm starting to get woozy. Wow, there's loads to go still. Might have to break this up again into one more part. Where were we? I'll see how much more I can push through. Ecstatic Awakener, human wizard. Ooh. Becomes a 4/4 demon when it's nighttime. 3 mana, sacrifice another creature, draw a card, then transform it into the Awakener demon. Awoken demon. Activate only once each turn. So you can't do it on your opponent's turn. Well, you can if you didn't do it on... Oh, you can, period. Sacrifice another creature, draw a card. Meh. Probably mostly rubbish. Devious Cover-Up. 4 mana. Instant speed. 2 and 2 blue. Counter target spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. You may then shuffle up to 4 target cards from your graveyard into your library. Wow, lots of graveyard hate. I wonder how this is going to play out. It's going to get so interesting. But 4 mana for a counter spell, it's pretty pricey. We'll have to see if that sees any play whatsoever. Blessed Defiance, instant speed, combat trick from white. Target creature you control gets +2/+0 and gains lifelink until end of turn. When that creature dies, okay, there's a very similar card to this already in standard, where you make a spirit when the thing dies and you buff it, but in this case it also gains lifelink. Pretty nice. Pretty nice, the lifelink on that. Alright, moving on. Another little wolfie, Bounding Wolf, Flash Reach. 3 mana for a 3/2. Might see some play. Block a flyer at some point, flash it in. Probably pretty rubbish, though. Next up, Ardent Elementalist. Human Shaman for 4. When it ETBs, return target instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. There's a lot of spell slinger stuff going on as well. Ways of constantly casting instants and sorceries and being incentivized for doing so. I'll show you what I mean when we get there. Next up we have Infernal Grasp, the new premier instant speed black removal spell in the set. Unfortunately you lose 2 life, but you can destroy a target creature for 2 mana with really cool artwork. So I like it. I like it. I'm going to test it. It's already a couple copies in the zombie deck. We'll see if it's better than, let's just say, man, there's so many other good ones actually. Even just a Foretold, Poison the Cup, without, you don't lose 2 life and you get to scry. But 2 mana for instant speed black removal. We've been too long waiting for something good since Power Word Kill was kind of rubbish. So I think this makes up for that, even with the downside of losing 2 life. It's not terrible, and most decks find a way to gain a little bit of life along the way anyway. Next up, Component Collector. 3, another Homunculus. Okay, so this is a tribe now. Homunculus. For 1/4, it's neither night or day, it becomes night or day. When it ETBs, whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, may tap or untap target non-land permanent. Whew. Interesting. Night day deck, huh? We'll have to see about that. Here's another Nightbound dude. Morning Patrol and Morning Patrol and Morning Apparition. 2/3 with Vigilant for 3. Man, it's rubbish. Absolute rubbish. As I said, too many good cards in mono white on the 3-drop slot for you to consider playing something that rubbish. Alright guys, I am, unfortunately, it's approaching 2 AM, my eyes are closing. I really wanted to push forward, but I'm starting to and I'm losing some of the cards' importance and not really doing what I was setting out to do, which is learn the cards so that I can better play these when the set drops on the 16th. So I'm going to leave it at that for tonight. I'm going to jump on and complete this set review first thing tomorrow morning. That is my promise to you, the viewer. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And, of course, hit the bell notification icon if you want to be notified of future uploads and streams. Yeah. That's it for today. This is Lone Fox from the BrewLab, signing out. Peace, y'all.